My name is Bill Birindwa. I'm a professional interpreter and I've been interpreting for 20 years in 6 languages. I work with typically every court and every tribunal in Australia. Barrier number one, it's language. Language is a serious barrier for them. And of course, that is dealt with because of, they're given an interpreter to help out with this language barrier. But apart from language, I've noticed that education is another problem. When you are poorly educated, even the way you answer becomes a problem. When the judge asks a question, again, you find that the client will answer something totally different. But again, the interpreter is there to help out. Which other barrier? The other barrier I've noticed is accessing the legal system. They don't know how to, even apply or to go to court when they need to. They don't know how to start an application. That's a barrier I've noticed, understanding the legal system, understanding the legal process. Where is it time to defend, to act as a witness? That's another thing I've noticed. So on day one, when it's a mention day, you find that the client is ready to, act as a witness, and yet they were not asked to give any evidence. That's a barrier that I noticed. Financial barrier, it's another problem. When I found that my clients, most of them, they don't have any jobs, they don't have, good income, they cannot hire the service of a lawyer when it's actually needed. That's another barrier I found in the legal system. Well, the language barrier, that's, the capital thing that the interpreter has to deal with. To do that, he has to be well trained in order to fill the gap, to minimize, the impact of this language barrier. Good training, confidence from the interpreter, being able to ask the judge maybe to slow down or to use a simple language, being able to ask the prosecutor, because most of the time I found that prosecutors, they speak very fast, like machines. I struggle to understand them. Ask them to speak slowly. Maybe the prosecutors should be trained, in how to work with interpreters, should be taught how to work with interpreters. That's something I've noticed. Before, maybe they could give them a brief, if possible, that can help them be comfortable during the proceeding. And again, during the proceeding, use simple language. Use simple language. That's very crucial for them, because interpreters are not legal professionals. They don't know the legal jargon. So using simple language can be very, very helpful for the interpreter. Having said that, the interpreter has to educate themselves, know more of the legal terminologies, because they need that terminology. The first consequence could be wrong judgment. I was doing a master's of interpreting and translation, and Dr. Sandra Hale, she gave us an example, of a wrong judgment because the interpretation was not good. So it's very, very important to hire qualified interpreters, competent interpreters, to avoid this, let me call it, deadly consequence. Because if somebody was jailed that can be deadly anyway. People were sentenced to death. That's deadly. If this sentence occurred because of using the wrong interpreter, the untrained interpreter, that can be very, very bad. So really the standards must be met. The judges must make sure they follow whatever standards they are given in working with interpreters. And interpreters must follow our code of ethics. For instance, if you are not competent, if you can't do the job, say, no, I can't. I'm not competent. I don't feel comfortable. And I've had good interpreters who came to me and said, Bill, you can do that job. I'm not doing it. But eventually now they are confident. They are going in courts. After some time, they gathered the courage to go to court as interpreters. Using my time, professionally. When I say professionally, I mean if I'm booked for an hour, make sure they call the clients early, soon enough, not at the last 15 minutes. Last time a judge called the client very late, and then I had to leave. The judge got angry with me. I just apologized and said that I had to leave politely and requested the signature, and I left. And the matter was adjourned because my time was not used accurately. So really, the judges should understand that interpreters got other jobs, they've got other bookings to attend, and they cannot be in court waiting for when the judge is going to call the clients they came for. Sometimes this happens. Being given a brief beforehand, that can be helpful. Giving breaks, that also can be helpful if it's, of course, a day session, a full day session. Breaks are important for interpreters. And also I would ask the judges or not the courts to prepare water for interpreters because, sometimes it happens that you find that you really are thirsty. Yesterday I was with a tribunal in Perth, and I nearly collapsed, and yet I was in my office. I had to apologize. Sorry, I have to go to grab a glass in order to drink water. So really, water can also be helpful for interpreters. I don't see much really. If he's well trained, he's ready for the assignment, he should be ready to do his job. If it's a short period of time, he has to cope with that. If it's a long period of time, again, that's where we said that the court really has to make preparations, planning breaks, so time shouldn't be a problem. The duty of an interpreter is to be there and say exactly what the judge says and say exactly what the non-English speaker says, no matter how ugly it is. The interpreter has to repeat it because that could help the judge help the non-English speaker. Not underrate the interpreters. Not think that interpreters are a secondary profession. Respect the time. Make sure you don't force the interpreter to work overtime. Maybe they don't have that time. They have another job. That's what I would request. If they know that the non-English speaker, they booked an interpreter for 1 hour, make sure maybe they call the non-English speaker at least in 30 minutes, not when only 15 minutes are remaining. That would be dangerous.